Hello there. In this video I'm going to show you how we can use FluidDesigner for 3D lighting to create Voronoi designs using mesh objects, similar to the ones shown on the left of the screen there. If you've got FluidDesigner for 3D lighting, then there are a number of Voronoi styles shown on the screen there, which you can just open up. But we're going to see how we can create these. I'm going to create something similar to this, either this first one or to this ceiling light shade here. And we're going to do it using a mesh. So if we go to add a mesh, now I'm going to use a UV sphere mesh, but you could use the cylinder or the cone or the torus or the cube. But I'm going to use UV sphere. And if I just press N on the keyboard to open up the properties panel, you can see that the default size of this is just 2mm by 2mm by 2mm. That's too small. So on the panel on the left, if we click in where it says size, I want to change this to 10 cm, 10 centimeters. That's the radius. So that will actually give me a diameter of 20 centimeters, which we can see over here in the properties panel, X, Y, and Z. Now in the panel on the left hand side here, we've got segments and we've got rings. Now segments is going around the sphere as in the red arrow direction, and so if I just take that right down to 3, you can see there are the 3 segments going around horizontally, and as we change that number, the appearance of this changes. Now I'm going to set it at about 36 in this case because I want to create a Voronoi pattern. And the rings, the 16 rings, if I set that down to 3, you can see that the rings is going in the vertical direction, so it increases the number of segments or number of rings, as it's named, in the vertical direction. So I'm going to set that at 16. And if I now go to view and front view, just to line it up like that, how do we create these Voronoi patterns? Well, we use modifiers. So over here in the properties panel, if we click on the modifiers tab, we basically just need 3 modifiers. We need a Decimate modifier, we need a wireframe modifier, and we need a subdivision surface modifier. Now the Decimate modifier just reduces the number of faces or number of edges that are in this object. So if I change this ratio down to 0.1, you'll see that the appearance of my object changes. There's a much smaller face count. If you look at the bottom of the Decimate panel there, it says face count 105. If I type ratio 1 back in, the face count goes up to 576, just below where it says ratio there. Okay, so that's how we can use the Decimate. Now we need to set a thickness for this wireframe, and I would recommend a minimum thickness of about 4 from the point of view of 3D printing. You can go lower than that, but I would suggest starting off with 4. Now what I would also do is to tick the boundary box as well, and if it's possible, tick relative thickness. It doesn't work in this case, depends on the geometry of the object you're using. Tick relative thickness if you can, but not if it does something crazy. Sometimes you have to remove the tick next to even thickness because that sometimes drives the model a bit crazy, but it seems to be okay in this case. Now in terms of Subsurf, I would recommend changing the view value from 1 up to 3 because that will give a nice smooth surface, and it's more likely to take the object through NetFab Basic as well. Now another thing that you could do is you could tick the box in the wireframe one that says Crease Edges. That will radically change the appearance. You don't get this sort of smooth appearance, you get a more regular appearance for the grid there if you tick Crease Edges. I'm not a great fan of that, but you might be. Alright, so I prefer that sort of style there. So if we go back to ratio again, so if I change the ratio to 0.5, you can see that that radically affects my pattern. And it's basically a case of playing around with the ratio values now until you find a pattern that you actually like. Now clearly at the moment that's not going to be any good as a pendant lampshade. So if I just go to view and front, so what I need to do is to delete part of it. So if I press the tab key to go into edit mode, A to deselect all those points there. Now I need to make sure I select the points at the back, so I just need to click on this icon at the top, limit visible section. So I need to be able to see through it, so I delete the front and the back. So if I go to view and front, if I just go to border select, I'm just going to select those control points there. Notice, not control points, those vertices there. Notice I've selected the ones at the back. Just X on the keyboard and delete those vertices. Okay, so I've opened up my lampshade there. Now, if I just go to the object library and go to light bulb fittings, and I'm going to select, let's see, I'll select E14 golf ball fitting and click OK, and just position it. So you've got to consider the bulb that you're going to use, but more importantly you've also got to consider the fitment at the top, and our fitments are not necessarily the same as yours. Alright, but so at the moment what we've got is a situation at the top where there isn't a hole for the cable to go through. So if we just go to view and top view, and in the outliner panel on the left, if I restrict the visibility, so that's the little eye icon on for the golf ball bulb, I'll remove that. And if I just go into edit mode, alright, so what I want to do is I want to delete this vertices at the center. So highlight the vertices at the center and X and delete it. And if I come out of edit mode and switch my bulb on again, that hole is much too big. So if I just go to view and top view again, make sure that I've got the lampshade selected. If I switch to edge select mode, and if I hold down the shift key and click on the edge of that circle there, I can press S on the keyboard and scale it in. And if I press the tab key to come out of edit mode there, I can see how much that hole is, and I'll perhaps just scale it in a bit more. Okay, so you've got to size that, and really you've got to size it on the basis of the cable that you're going to use and the fitment that you've got at the bottom. So that's how you can change the top. Alright, so once you're happy with that, once you're happy with the design, you can export it as an OBJ file and run it through Netfab Basic. Alright, so that's how you can create a simple Voronoi lamp pendant lamp using a mesh. Thank you.